we edit if needed afterwards? We can edit, right? Okay.
No, we cannot edit. If you're watching this, you're in for a treat. Because I only ever interview people that are legendary in optics. Legendary. Or they've done something exceptional, or they're special in some way. I'm Gary Kasulu, and I am about to introduce you to Sharon Flora. She is my friend, which is rare. Like, I don't say to people that you're my friend Winnie Lily. She is my friend because I admire her so much. Now, if you just caught the beginning of that, she said, oh, we'll edit it. We're not editing anything. This is raw. You're watching this as it happens, and I hope that you're going to get a lot out of it. Sharon, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Gary. This is so lovely. And I think this is going to be one of the most relaxed podcasts. It's just like friends talking to each other, right? So I was really honored to be on here.
I'm the lucky one. Now, the thing is generally I go back and I look at where people did their pre-reg and we look at things like that, right? But Sharon's on here for a reason, because she's an innovator of dry eye. She was talking about dry eye before everyone else. It was a thing. You saw it and others didn't. And I always think that I see things that others don't. I didn't even see it. Sharon would be saying, look, dry eye. I said, no, I don't know, 90,000 pound machines, if it's a good idea. She was like, no, you don't understand. And I didn't. Yeah. And I'm hoping by the end of this this broadcast, and you're watching or you're listening to it, you will understand dry eye and why it's so important. And Sharon's story is incredible. So if we say maybe just a few moments to talk about your story, because not enough people know. So you started out as a dispensing optician. How long ago was that?
This is like 24 years ago, maybe. Yeah,
you were a teenager.
And then I just went straight into my contact lens qualification straight away. I knew I wanted something more clinical based.
Where did you do your pre-reg, Sharon?
My pre-reg was actually in a multiple at Specsavers. My pre-reg for both, actually.
Did you pick full or part-time?
Really busy store, so it really.
Were you doing full or part-time in your
full-time?
Full-time.
Yeah. Full-time working, and
so
then
those that don't know, that means you're giving up 1 day a week to go to college, and any spare time you have, you're studying SAG equations, right? So that was you. So you passed your exams. Then
no. My dispensing, before my dispense, I did at university like 3 years as a optical management. I did a full 3-year course as part of my dispensing full-time university degree. So that was there in Anglia, Ruskin University. And then after that, I went straight into my contact lens qualification. So I've been qualified as CLO for over 20 years.
Love that. What was your favorite lens to fit back in the day?
I can't even remember, Gary. God, don't ask me these questions.
Do you remember what was that Bausch & Lomb one called 66? Soft lens 66. I remember when I first qualified, that was the only lens that my supervisor would fit. Just one. Soft lens 66. You're probably too young to remember.
There were so many. There were so many good ones. I think what each patient needed. For that time, Focus Aqua daily release, the daily disposable mount. That was one of the go-tos.
Was it a
blue there were so many.
Was it Focus Aqua?
Yeah. When they released the Aqua release one, and it was like, wow.
Hydrogel daily, right?
Yeah, and hydrogel, when silicone hydrogels were introduced, that was quite an exciting time. As well as now we know so many options for presbyopia. That was amazing as well, and the extended range for torics. So much there.
So far, there's nothing extraordinary about you yet. This is where things start to get extraordinary. So your father, your dad, who has passed, and I would have loved to have met him. He sounds like an amazing human being. He helps you to buy a practice. So where's the gap between there and there? Where do you and your dad buy a practice? So tell me about how old were you? What's going on around this time?
I'd only been qualified like three years, and I was locuming after I qualified. So really got a chance to see how independent practices work versus multiples, and you know, after seeing the whole independent structure, I knew that's where I wanted to be. And then, you know, I said to my dad, you know, Dad, I think, you know, me thinking I can do anything, you know, just totally untouchable, like
Invincible.
I can do anything, you know. And then Dad was very, very encouraging. Yes, darling, you know, if you want, we want to do this, we'll do it, you know, just put your all in it. So I was like 24, 25 when I bought my first practice. Well, my practice, which I've had for like 18 years, which I've recently sold now.
So just so everyone knows, that's called Wood Street Opticians. It's in Wood Street. Walthamstow's a weird place that it was never gentrified, and it became gentrified. So the practice that you bought looks very different from the practice that was sold. But that's not the interesting part for me. Is you fall in love with somebody from Leeds. The practice is in London, and you fall in love with someone from Leeds. Correct? Am I correct?
Yeah, well, it was a bit more, it was a bit complicated. So I'd say the practice was like my first baby before I had my own babies and before I got married. So I was obviously fully immersed in that. And then afterwards, yeah, I got married, which is fine. I was still living, we were living in London at the time. But it was only over the last 10 years I actually moved to Leeds when I had my two girls, my children.
So let's just pause for a second. Let's pause and take it in. Here you have an amazing human being, great clinician, lovely patients. You've married a man in Leeds, your practice is in London, you've had babies and you're going backwards and forwards. Some days I'd speak to you, you'd left home at 5 a.m. on the Leeds train and gone back the same day. That is pretty impressive, but it gets even more complex. It gets more complex. Because why does it get more complex? I want every single young person to hear this. Like, I really do. Like, if you're young and you say, I haven't got time, watch Sharon. She decides to do an extension course as optometry. Like, in between getting married, living far away, having children. Wow. I think you're quite unique. No one I've ever met has ever done that. That's pretty amazing.
No, I mean, Gary, no, there's so many things other people do that are so amazing. You know, there really is. And this was just my thing. I always, to be honest, with dry eye ocular surface, it was always my, I always enjoyed it. I think,
well, we're not at dry eye. I want you are my friend, and I want you to just for a minute take the compliment that you managed to get through a lot of diversity, a lot of struggles, a lot of Leeds to London trains, and you passed your pre-reg, and you're an optometrist now. That alone on its own is hard. So I just want to acknowledge you as a friend. If there's somebody in optics thinking, I'd like to do optometry, that will be hard. Try adding a practice, try traveling, and try having kids. That's what you've done. So that's really inspiring, truly inspiring. So when I first met you, now we get into dry eye. I wanted to get that out of the way because I believe you deserve a medal. You're amazing. You're very tenacious. You're really smart. You're really focused. And you say to me, hey, Gary, you know, I think I'm going to buy this machine. I said, well, how much is the machine? I nearly fell over. You said, I think 90,000. Is that right? 80,000.
Well, Jack, 5 years ago when I really delved into dry eye, because I felt, especially being a CLO for so long, I always knew, you know, just giving eye drops to patients, it was never enough. I never felt I was doing enough for my patients. And then after that, you know, obviously, I learned about so many advanced technologies out there. So 5 years ago, I think was when I invested in my first one. And I think we had this conversation, didn't we, Gary, when your team were doing my marketing, and you were like, Sharon, what planet are you? It's like, what planet are you on? What are you?
I as an optometrist, as a dispensing optician, I didn't care if my patient had rosacea. Someone would come in, they got red cheeks, so what? Like now, I look at that very differently. I look at when I'm giving some drops out, I'm saying that there's more to this than just giving you drops. And it's you were the one of the first people in the UK to really recognize that. And I think that's really special. So you've been doing this 5 years. Others have been doing it 5 minutes. So that's a big difference. So you get this machine and you're like, wow, and you got to put, like, you're going into the suntan shop and you put things on my eye. I was one of your first patients. You put things on my eyes and you putting creams on my face. I'm thinking, what is this, aesthetics? What is this? And if you don't know, it was a procedure by accident. Somebody had rosacea. You're better qualified than I am. I think they got too close to the eyelids and all of a sudden the dry eye just disappeared. It happened by error. Is that correct? Am I saying that right?
I'm not quite sure if it happened by error, but it did all start in
like all good
dermatology.
inventions, it happened by fluke.
It started in dermatology, as far as I know, and they realized when they were treating the facial rosacea, the dry eyes were improving. So that's when there was further research in it. So there's been lots of dry eye gurus that have really paved the way for us.
Sharon, does it just come down to inflammation, that this light is going to such a level that it's reducing the inflammation? Just simply, look, talk to me like I'm a patient. How does it work?
So IPL, which stands for intense pulse light, really targets to reduce the inflammation, correct? Also any kind of redness, pigmentation, most IPLs can do as well. So that's how it gives that lovely aesthetic benefit. So by reducing the vascular inflammation, the redness, we're improving the flow of the oils coming through. So that in a nutshell, really. Yeah.
You really understand it. She really simplified it. So there's two types of dry eye. So there's a type where you're not producing enough oils, and there's the type that your tears evaporate too quickly. Am I simplifying that too quickly as well? What are the two types?
Well, no, there's first type, which is aqueous deficient, which means when your eyes aren't producing enough tears. And the second one is evaporative dry eye, also known as meibomian gland dysfunction, when the eyes don't have enough moisture in the eye. Some patients, in fact, a lot of them also can have a combination of both. But the most common type is evaporative dry eye, meibomian gland dysfunction.
Correct.
Yeah.
So let's play a game. There's nearly 9 kind of patients that will walk into your practice today and they'll have dry eye. So Sharon and I are going to play a little game for you now, and she doesn't know we're going to play a game. We're going to name different types of people that will walk into your practice with dry eye. Can I start?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go one each.
Yeah.
You're easily going to win. All right, so I'm going to go perimenopause. You'll go. Who else has got dry? Who's got dry eye? A patient with perimenopause. You'll go. Who else has got dry eye, Sharon?
Patients who have Sjogren's disease, autoimmune conditions.
Oh, that's a good one. All right, here I go. Patients that are on antidepressants. You'll go.
Patients who may be on beta blockers.
Patients that have glaucoma. You'll go.
Patients who there's so many. I can't even think which one to pick. Well, there's so many.
There's so many. Look, your patients that are on the screen too much. Your patients.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many. When we talk about diabetes, please look into this. There are so many patients. Now, I spoke to a qualified optometrist the other day. He said to me with a straight face, I don't see any dry eye patients. He literally said to me, I do not see any. I said, well, you don't see any menopausal women? No. And he said, oh, yeah, I guess so. You don't see anyone with glaucoma? Oh, yeah, I guess so. You don't see anyone? And the list went on. I think that even though you went into this 5 years, the industry knows very little about dry eye. That they're happy to give you drops. They're happy to give you an eye bag and not even talk about expressing. They're happy to not give the information about, and here's a segue, I know very little about omega-3, very, very little. And Sharon's an expert at that. And I encourage you, if you don't have omega-3 on your shelves, that you contact Sharon because she's got a solution. What a nice segue. Sharon, can you teach us a little bit about why it's important to have omega-3 along with all the other solutions, if that's okay?
Yeah, so it really is about a holistic approach. It's so hard to kind of cram it all in a short podcast, but I think key is, especially for clinicians out there, is I think it's education. I think just making sure that a lot of clinicians are up to date with the latest research, the latest TFOS reports. Even just reading the TFOS reports, you'll learn so much. So truly taking a holistic approach, looking at the eyes, looking at the periocular skin, looking at the facial skin, looking at how the oils function. So omega-3 supplements can really help with that. High quality omega-3. So
what's the difference between saying to our patient, "Oh, just go to Holland and Barrett, pick up any old omega-3," and getting the solution that you offer?
Well, there's so many differences, how the supplements are formulated, and the amount of EPA, DHA in each omega-3 supplement. Equally, how well are they actually absorbed by the body? Because you could be taking some that you think are good, but if your body's not absorbing it, it's kind of not doing its thing. So this is why we've had some really good results, ones with krill oil, which means that the body can readily it can better absorb that. So there's been clinical data on that as well. So there's so much to discuss on that, but just to kind of and I think for me, having something on a subscription, which is great for the patient, in terms of convenience, it gets posted to their door, less hassle for us as in practice. We can focus on what we do best, seeing patients, and we can just sign them up so that they get that regular subscription posted to their house.
How's it make you feel, Sharon, when someone has been to one place and another and seen a million people, and you're providing that relief of, like, their eyes are runny or their eyes are in pain, and how's that make you feel? Because I would say as high as 80% of the practices out there just offer drops. They must frustrate you because you saw it before everyone else.
Yeah, well, I have to say, though, it's very rewarding for me. It's become very purposeful doing what I do. And there's a bit of a story to that as well. I think my journey, what I've been through. So for me, especially when I've seen patients where it's really affected, it truly affects their quality of life, whether it's their mental health, anxiety, depression. This is real. This is happening. And this is when something's just a chronic disease, such as dry eye, which is always just ignored or just buffed to the side, not really dealt with. And it doesn't go away by itself, and it progressively gets worse. And once all this comes into play, with some patients, many patients I've seen which are in tears. So for me, when I can offer them that solution, it is truly life-changing for the patient. And I can't tell you how rewarding that is for me. I think especially with my personal journey, I sadly lost my dad 13 years ago of a sudden cardiac arrest. It was actually very sudden. It was in front of me. We were dancing together in a wedding reception, and it was just looking back. The trauma still hits me now. But for me, it was a real pivotal moment in my life that, we really need to be looking at the patients as a whole. When I was going through that grieving process with my dad, it was always like, what more could we have done? Did I miss something? Did we miss the signs? What did he ignore? He should have done this better. He would have been here today. So constantly rerunning that in my head for months, even years. And it really kind of opened up, I'd say, with a new set of eyes, with this real underserved group of dry eye patients. They didn't know where to go. And for me, it was maybe my way of dealing with the grief that I was helping these patients. They were so underserved. They didn't know where to go, even to the point with the hospital constantly getting drops that weren't really helping. And for me, when it got my patients to the other side, it was just so purposeful and deep for me. And I think that's why I'm always thriving to see, okay, what more can we we've got to always evolve as clinicians.
What strikes me about you is that you do things with purpose. If Sharon Flora doesn't want to do it, there's no persuading her. Like, you are so purpose driven. And I think that's why we're friends, because for me, I'm not a slave to money. Don't want to be.
No.
I don't want to be somewhere. I'm at the age where I can choose. But you are like so purpose driven. If it doesn't work for you, then it just doesn't work. And I think that's so admirable.
You know what? If it doesn't work for my patients, it's not going to work for me. That's the way I see it.
It's really funny. I was in practice yesterday, and I've deliberately kept this to half an hour, by the way. We've got 10 minutes left. I've got an appointment soon. And I hope this is just part one. I'd love to do another one. I wasn't really good with pediatrics until I had kids.
Yeah.
I think that as clinicians and practitioners, you get to a certain level and you stay in your comfort zone and you don't do something new. So the people that are entering dry eye just for the money, I don't think they'll be as successful as you, because you really get it. You really, really get it. And you're doing, like all good people that are at the front, you're doing other things with your time. And it's involving sleep. It's involving other things. Can you tell us what Sharon Flora plans to do for 2026? I'm so excited. You're an award winning. You're at the optician awards. You're recognized. Tell us what your new stuff's about, if that's okay. If it's not too secret. The stuff about sleep, it sounds exciting.
Yeah. So again, as a clinic, always innovating. Again, if there is something that my patients need, or how can I better improve their quality of life, I'm always open to that. And I think as clinicians, we must always keep learning. The learning never stops. There's always more research out there. So I would say, continually keep reading those clinical papers, listen to those podcasts, watch those webinars.
Are you not involved with something to do with sleep?
Yeah. So
tell us about that.
Well, yeah, this is a bit hot off the press, but I'll share with you.
Thank you.
So we've recently just got a new device called the ExoMind, which really focuses on mental wellness. So helps with anxiety, mood, depression, and also sleep. So it targets, it's all about how the brain works and really helps improve that. It's a medical device, lots of clinical data on it. And I think, again, we saw a need for that in my clinics, because a lot of my patients, whether they were hormonal, there was always mood issues, hormonal imbalances, anxiety, lots of my patients who weren't sleeping well due to a number of reasons. So this is a great addition to the clinic, as well as all the other treatments that we offer, to really kind of give that full kind of 360 approach for our patients, because I feel that will really help them on their healing journey. And I think most people, especially when we all become middle-aged, we all have sleep problems.
Well, it's so important for your mental health. I need my 7-8 hours when I'm not sleeping well. Now, we're coming to the end of this podcast. I'd love to do another one when we've got time. I squeezed this in. Neither of us had time to do this, but you're probably reading the book that your boss doesn't want you to read, and you're reading about Sharon, and there'll be a QR code for you to come into this. Maybe that's how you found this. So we did squeeze this in, especially for 100% Optical. Will you be there over the 3 days? Will people be able to speak to you?
I will be, yeah, I will be there. So I'll be spreading myself I'll either be at the InMode stand, where we talking to everyone about the dry eye device Envision, and I'll also be at Bondi, where we'll be discussing the launch of the new subscription service for the Omega-3.
That's to do with the Omega-3. And then
Omega-3 and the Prism antioxidant scanner. Yeah. And I'll be there to talk about the exomines. If anybody wants to know anything, happy to talk about that and how they can further enhance their clinics. Yeah.
So in the book, we'll have all Sharon's details. In the show notes, it will have Sharon's details. But do you just want, what is your preferential way of people contacting you? You're very active on LinkedIn. You're very active on Instagram. What's your favorite? Well, how should people get to
Sharon Flora, or you can email me on hello@theeyeretreat.co.uk.com. Sorry, .com.
You know it's a good podcast when it flies by. It feels like about 10 seconds, but it's not been 10 seconds. It's been a whirlwind. I would love to do this again. We literally did this so it gets in the book so everyone can share. Sharon is an amazing human being. I think you're an inspiration to women and men alike. I think you're an inspiration to optometrists, dispensing opticians, CLOs. I think you're an inspiration to the dry eye. I mean that. Like, it's not just words. You inspire me every day, Sharon. And there's not many people that think out of the box for me. Like, in optics, we are so same old. And I really respect our friendship, and I love you very much. So we said that we wouldn't cry, so we're not going to cry.
No, we're not going to cry. But equally, I think my message would be to anybody, I think, is just whatever your passion is, just follow that path, because then no matter what challenges come ahead of you, if you love what you do, it's not going to feel like you're going to constantly strive to get those answers, fix those patient problems or concerns. So I think just go with what you love doing, your passion.
There's a funny thing that comes along with success. You get a lot of people that are jealous of that success, or they might secretly try and put you down. But Tony Robbins, who I love, he says if other people gain pleasure from your displeasure, they're insecure themselves. Please, if you meet people like Sharon coming along the way, she's made it now, but along the way, it can't have been easy, right? So lift other people, don't put them down. Optics has a real habit of not celebrating who's doing really well. It's not just about the optician awards. It's not just about picking things up. There are wins every single day in practice. And if you're a manager, praise that brilliant work, and don't be afraid of trying something new. If you're selling an eye bag, don't assume that the optometrist has gone through expressing, because they probably haven't. Maybe say to them, look, get an eye wand. Maybe say to them, hey, I know somebody who's selling these supplements. If you're watching this, 100% get in touch with Sharon.
I think I think kindness goes such a long way. Just an act of kindness in a day, that can uplift somebody as well as uplift yourself, And secondly, if you feel something is outside of your remit, you can't help that patient, don't be afraid to refer them on to a specialist who can, and co-manage that patient together. So I think we don't do enough of that in our industry, in our profession, but I'd love to see that more.
Well, my closing question, Sharon, is if somebody's watching this, and I really care about young people, you're new to the profession, and they're looking at you and thinking, wow, I want to be like Sharon. I really want to be like Sharon. What are the couple of tips that you could give to say, because your resilience is amazing. How did you pick up this resilience? I don't want to put things in your mouth. What would you say are your top tips for getting to the top of your industry and being a master at what you do?
I think whatever you see that you love doing, whatever your passion is, just follow that through. Just follow that through, because like I said it before, no matter what comes ahead, you're going to find a way because you enjoy doing it. So just do it well, whatever that may be in whatever industry, even if where you are right now, you might feel, I'm not quite, there might be something else completely in a different profession that might just, so find that thing's your thing. What's your thing? I think I'm quite lucky. I found my thing. So find your thing and just follow it through with full passion.
Despite the noise around you. There's going to be a lot of people say, oh, don't do that. Waste time. If your heart says it, just go for it. And I don't know what
the heart says, and you're doing good for other people. Yeah.
Sharon Flora, God knows how many millions of things you're going to do for the rest of your day. But I wish you a really great day. If you've liked this, please make a comment down below. If you've watched this and you see Sharon at 100% or myself, just stop by and say hi. We would always say hello. And I wish you the best of days. I'm going to try and put this up as quickly as possible. Sharon, I love you very much. I'm not ashamed to say that. I love optics, and you love optics too. And you're specialist in a certain department. You so deserve that.
Oh, thank you, Gary. No, thank you so much for always being that support system. Always truly appreciate you as well.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and who knows who I'm going to interview next? Let's see. Sharon, speak to you soon.